Hello, I'm back for another video on this series, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. And today we are talking all about empowerment. We're talking about taking radical responsibility for our well-being, our happiness. So you may have felt, because it's natural, like a victim to the abuse, whether it was your parent or whether it was a partner. And this series, by the way, just a little announcement, is for those of you that have been able to move out of that relationship. Because even though you've moved out of that relationship, the healing can really begin afterwards. If you are still in it, that's going to be a different set of videos that I'll do at a different time. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, press the bell so you get notified about videos that I'll be doing on healing, on our spiritual journey, on our dark night of the soul, of moving past complex PTSD to create your heart's happiness live, because you deserve that. Okay, even if you were abused as a kid by a narcissistic parent, you still deserve that, by the way. But you just have some work to do, okay? So first of all, I don't want you to feel like you're a victim anymore. I want you to realize that this is just part of your path. And I'm really, really, really sorry that that happened to you, that you were spoken to like that you were made to feel unsafe, that you were put down. And this is something that you live with on a daily basis within your own mind. My dad's been gone for 16 years, but I still hear him in my head. And now me, still abuses me through myself. Okay. So the way we take radical responsibility is to no longer be that victim and to, with self and compassion, look at our own behaviors that are recreating the abuse. Okay. So first of all, how you are talking to yourself. Are you criticizing yourself? Are you pushing yourself? Are you being nasty to yourself? What is the inner dialogue like? How does that sound like the parent? And you are doing it to yourself. Okay. So what often happens because of the way that narcissistic abuse is, like, they are in their fight response in their nervous system, which is why they are pushing all of their negative energy onto you. And what happens is we then start to do it to ourselves. That's what the abuse does to us. So we need to take radical responsibility that we're not going to do that. Okay. So we're going to notice with love and compassion that we are in that pattern. And we're going to notice that we speak to ourselves in a certain way. And we're going to catch it. We're going to pause before we go into it. And we are going to do nervous system exercises in order to move past it. It's going to feel very uncomfortable. So we might try tapping, even though I speak to myself really critically. Is that a word? I still love and accept myself, even though I keep shaming myself and I don't think I'm good enough. And I keep saying all these words. I still love and respect myself, even though I'm abusing myself, even though I am now my abuser, I still love and accept myself. And then tapping around the points. I am self-shaming right now. I am talking to myself badly. I am making myself feel angry, guilt, shame, afraid, and I'm recreating what happened to me. And I take radical responsibility for that. And I'm learning how to feel safe within my own thoughts and within my own mind, and to break the pattern of the way that I spoke to myself. So notice all the ways that you're abusing yourself. Like, is it because you don't drink enough water? Is it because of the way that you treat your body? Is it the relationships that you keep in your life? This was a way that the narcissistic abuse carried on for me. So even though my dad wasn't in my life, I found myself in relationships where I was the victim again, where I was spoken to badly, where I was emotionally dumped on, where I was shamed for how people felt and I was blamed for it. In friendships, in other family relationships, take radical responsibility for the relationships that you are in. You have a choice. You are not that child. You can either leave those relationships, you can set boundaries in those relationships, you can walk away from those relationships. You have that power. So remember, you are not the abused child, or if you were older, you are not that victim. You are in your power and you are able to walk away, stop talking to them, whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself safe. In the beginning, I used to just have to walk away. Now I might be able to have a repair conversation, but do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Have a look at the relationships in your life. Journal on how that abusive relationship made you feel. What were the red flags about your dad or your partner or whoever? Be very aware of those behaviors. Who in your life does them? Now, I used to know that certain people used to treat me like that, but I felt like a victim and I had no choice because they're my family members or I work with them. But what I realized after that was like, no, I can leave a work environment because I'm a grown woman. I can end that relationship, not tell them. I can do all these different things because I'm an empowered adult now, not a wounded victim. Okay, so this is you taking radical responsibility. How are you talking to yourself? How are you treating yourself? How are you recreating the toxic environment that the abuse was in? Okay, these are really important. The thoughts, your behaviors, all of those things. Look at your relationships because it's very relational, this abuse, so it will happen in relationships as well. So I didn't do this on purpose. You're not going to be doing it on purpose, but we will unconsciously gravitate towards people that feel the same because we haven't fully healed from it. We don't realize what was wrong with it. You know, people that jump from one relationship to another, they're not really assessing what happened in that abusive relationship. They're just jumping into the next one. And you really need the time to be like, what was the red flags? What felt unsafe to me? I actually had a spreadsheet like when I went into romantic relationships, and I now even use that for like friendships and other relationships. It's like, what doesn't feel safe about them? Because what would happen was I'd be ignoring all these things, but then I'd be lying awake, being anxious about the relationships, that they were angry at me, that something was my fault, that they were going to project their feelings onto me. But I don't need to take other people's stuff on. You know, radical responsibility is getting that we are codependent. So we were a magnet for the narcissistic relationship, whether that be because our parent was like that and then we've gravitated towards other people. I have been the biggest codependent, okay? I tried to save everyone. I didn't want to focus on my feelings, on my emotions, because it didn't feel safe. I was all about everybody else. And that made me stuck. That made me the victim in many relationships. But again, you are not that child anymore. So, you know, there's an amazing book by Melody Beattie called Codependent No More. You can also go to Codependent. It's called Coda, like AA, so Coda Anonymous. So you can go to free groups and you can understand what the patterns of codependency are, because we get into these dances with narcissists because of us, because we don't like to focus on ourselves. We're looking for love and validation outside of ourselves. And these people are all about themselves. So you are not a victim. You're an energetic match for a narcissist because of that, because you grew up with one. But you now are the empowered survivor taking radical responsibility for your well-being, your happiness, your life. You don't need to make those decisions. You can work through what are the patterns. So just like how an addict of alcohol or drugs has to put down the alcohol and drugs to get better, you have to put down these people and these relationships that you have been addicted to make you avoid yourself. And you're going to have to sit with your emotions, the guilt, the shame, the sadness, the anger, and learn your tools to be able to move through those feelings. And there's going to be a lot of grief. There's going to be a lot of sadness. There's going to be a lot of anger. I've done a lot of boxing and beating things up and screaming to get things out. I can't believe my dad treated me like this. I can't believe my dad spoke to me like this. And I really needed to grieve and to release how I'd been treated. Now, another way that we heal and we take radical responsibility for our healing and moving past it and, you know, accepting about the self-abuse is our body. So our bodies do not know that we are safe now. I am 42 years of age. My dad has been gone for 16 years and I'm in the safest life I've ever been. I have a wonderful husband. We have an amazing house. Like, I have a really safe life. But what I realized was that my body was still in the abusive environment with my dad and with other people that felt like my dad. And it was still in the past. And I had to help my body to feel safe in this present moment. So that's like speaking to it and letting it know it's safe, self-touch, doing things like tapping and eye movement. These are trauma release modalities. And if you want to know about any of the things that I'm talking about in more detail, I have a Heal Your Inner Child program that has all of these elements in there. So come join us. And at the moment, I'm running that with monthly calls, and you get all of the content as well. And I have lots of like free courses and low cost courses that you can buy where I talk a lot about these things as well. Listen to my podcast. Obviously, I'll be creating lots of content here on YouTube. But there is so much you can do to take that radical responsibility for your nervous system and feeling safe in this moment. So somatic work, touch, orientating to the environment, even speaking to my body. Like, by the way, I just want to let you know, it's June 2024 and your dad died. You are not being abused anymore. You are safe now. You are safe now, like holding your heart, like really take in with every sense of your body that you are now safe. And you may need to do that throughout the day. You may need to visualize, take in, talk to your body, to your nervous system, to like your different systems, say, hey body, we're okay now. We're not in that situation anymore. And what that will do, it will help your body to regulate and to feel safe in this moment, grounding to this moment, being present, noticing how there is no danger. Because what I've noticed for many, many years is the anxiety after being abused for that many years was insane. Like I wouldn't sleep well because I was looking for it everywhere. And what I realized is I don't need to look for it. Like I can build the tools and the resilience to be able to deal with people like that. And we'll talk a bit about that in other videos. But what I wanted today is for you to take radical responsibility for all the ways that it still doesn't feel safe, whether it be your mind, whether it be your physical body, whether it be sickness. Like a lot of us get really sick as well, like chronic symptoms. Like I mentioned, like I didn't sleep for a long time because I just didn't feel safe. Like my body just didn't know, hey, we're safe now. And you get to do that with yourself by building that bond with your body. I really recommend inner child work for this. It's so powerful to help your younger self know all the parts of you that were in that abusive relationship that you are safe now. And for anybody that's listening, if you are not fully safe now because you're in relationships but this is part of your journey to empowerment. This is part of you becoming the empowered survivor, because you are going to make those big changes to take those people out of your life and change those relationships. I've had to do lots of things along the way because I didn't realize how much toxicity, if that's a word, was in my life. I just didn't realize that because these people felt so normal to me. And it's not even their fault. It's not, and I hate online how we can really villainize a narcissist, because what they're doing and the abuse that they're doing is really, really wrong and really like awful that they are doing that to you. But they are acting out in a trauma response, but so are you. And it's almost like we're giving all of our power to these people because of the way that they behave. And, I've had everything done to me. So that whole flying monkey thing that people talk about, love bombing, I've had all of those things done to me, right? All the tactics that they're doing unconsciously to keep you there, to keep their narcissistic supply, right? Because they get to like energy vampire, hook up to you and drain you of all of your resources, but you are letting them, because that's what's happened to you forever. So you don't even realize that it's not okay. And then you feel sick, and then you might try to re-energize with food or with TV, or I don't know, some kind of numbing like addictions, because of they're doing that. But you can be like, no. And you know what? I'm not going to say it's not scary, because some of them can really react. You can get lots of emails, you can get lots of other people get involved. So, you're going to build your resilience over time. You're going to build that nervous system toolkit so you can take care of your nervous system when it's going into fight or flight. Things like tapping and breath and touch and, like I said, taking in your environment. There's so much you can do so that you don't go up and down with your unconscious program, with your fight or flight response, so that you can stay grounded and an adult in this moment. So you stop letting your subconscious and your unconscious mind drag you along into your old patterns. You get to be this new version of you. And I would love for you every single day to imagine her or him, the healthier future you that is no longer in these narcissistic relationships, is feeling safe, is feeling well, is feeling calm, is living their heart's happiness life. I want you to imagine that person. And often it's taking down those layers. It's working through the guilt of maybe not seeing a parent so much. It's working through the shame when that parent or that family member goes, oh, you used to be really great and you're not anymore. You're not there for me. Like working through that, because yeah, people are going to say that stuff because you are taking radical responsibility for your happiness and for your well-being. Because really you were in those relationships out of fear, not out of love, because you were like, oh my God, they hate me, they're angry with me, so therefore I must do X. You don't need to do those things, but you will need to build up the capacity within the nervous system, within the body, to be able to be strong, to be able to change those dynamics in the relationship. And that takes time, and that takes healing. That takes speaking with your inner child. That takes tapping in the body. That takes having a chat with your body, going, I know this is really uncomfortable right now, but we're not going to be in that relationship anymore. It takes you being your higher self, the head office, and that looks at all the wounded parts within you that are like, oh my God, but this is not safe. She's not speaking to me. And that just doesn't feel safe. It's so uncomfortable. So I'm going to have to say something to her. No. And also, by the way, sometimes you may go back and around, but you'll learn from it. You'll learn from it. You'll learn from going back. You'll learn from, somebody like a boundary that you're just ignoring because it's too hard to deal with because they're a family member. You will learn from all of those things, and you will be able to go, okay, I'm going to try it a bit harder. And if you need help at all at like what other nervous system things I can do, I have got podcasts on those that you can watch here on YouTube. If you just search in my channel nervous system, I have got things on fear. If you just look that up, I've got things on relationships. There's so many podcasts. And I also have little mini courses that you can buy to help you to say no. Or I have my bigger program, which is like Heal Your Inner Child, to give you all of the tools like the somatic practices, the protective parts work. There's all of these elements that are going to help you get your power back. But you've got to decide that I'm choosing me, and I'm choosing an empowered life. And what I didn't realize, but I was so wedded to the identity of suffering. Myself, my family, my parents, my ancestors. There's so much suffering. We're really freaking used to suffering. We're really used to like living in scarcity, living in survival. And that's what I did because that was normal to me. So choosing this different life, which is actually like, yeah, I'm not going to live for other people. I'm going to like create a life that makes me happy. I'm going to do work that I love. I'm not going to be in those relationships. I'm not going to do all the things that my family tell me is what I need to do to get their love, because I am going to empower myself, and I am going to take radical responsibility for my own happiness and not living for other people for happiness, for like to feel worthy, to have validation, to have love. Because I don't know about you, whenever you do things for somebody else because they want you to, it doesn't really give you the feeling that you want. You find that within, through finding joy and peace and love and freedom right here, right now. And I love meditation, but it's taken me a long time to be able to meditate because after a lot of the abuse, I just felt really scattered and really tense and not feeling very safe in relationships that would sort of tell me the same things. But I decided that, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you get to decide that too. You get to really face your mirror, really face the shadow looking back at you. I'm not perfect, guys. I've been healing for a long, long time, and I still do things where I fall into a pattern with either the way I speak to myself in my own mind or with a relationship in my life, and I recreate some of what I grew up in, but I learn from it. And I go, okay, this is what happened. Love and compassion. Let's try to work on that. Let's make that better. I see myself like, okay, what's going on? Where am I blocking my own happiness? What is the pattern? What is going on in my life that needs to be released and let go? What is the limiting belief that I am only worthy of these kind of relationships? No, you are worthy of so much more. So whatever you've been through, you can self-heal it out of it. Radical responsibility. And I have no shame. As in, oh, I've done a really stupid thing. I dated my dad again, or I had a friend like my dad, or, like kind of those very real conversations, and almost with humor. It's like, oh, I did it again. I've been anxiously attached my whole life. So therefore I've got loads of anxious relationships. you get to take radical responsibility and to change that. Okay, you take radical responsibility with the way that you talk to yourself. You take radical responsibility with the way that you soothe yourself. You take radical responsibility when you say no to a certain relationship, when you step away. You take radical responsibility when someone is annoyed with you for not performing the way they want, and you're okay with it because you've learned the tools to be able to soothe your body, right? So let me know in the comments how you are taking radical responsibility for your healing journey and healing from the narcissistic abuse, and taking like the role of being that higher self and those patterns, and taking responsibility for those things with love and compassion. Go, oh my God, I've only been doing this because I didn't know any better, and now I know better, so I get to do differently. Okay, so there's some of my suggestions. Watch how you speak to yourself. Check out those relationships. Do the red flag analysis. You want to be doing body work to self-soothe the nervous system, and you want to be able to help you to feel safe in this present moment. And really, your relationships are going to be a big, big place where this could replicate and repeat, and your relationship with yourself. So, like I said, narcissists fight with you, but you fight with yourself. So see the ways that pattern is playing out and decide that you are going to treat yourself better. Treat yourself how you wished the narcissist would have treated you when you stayed in that relationship for so long. So I hope that helps. It certainly helped me on my journey with healing from my dad that was abusive, and means that I'm able to have healthy, nourishing relationships with people that are not narcissists, because they're just not good for me, and really accepting that. And you know, when you get to understand how that abuse affected you and what a red flag is for you, like I cannot be with someone that you know, doesn't say what they mean or has got an aggressive like tone. Like it's really a trigger for me. So I knew that when I picked my partner. I knew what made me feel safe. I knew what didn't. And rather than unconsciously, which I nearly did loads of times, be in a relationship with someone that feels like my abuser, feels like my dad, I get to choose somebody different. Through intention, through consciousness, through looking at my shadow, looking at my unconscious behaviors. It was all of those things that broke that pattern. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.